William Collins presents Unfortunately, She Was a Nymphomaniac, A New History of Rome's Imperial Women, by Joan Smith. Read by Joan Walker. Introduction. Femicide is generally understood to involve intentional murder of women because they are women. It is usually perpetrated by men, but sometimes female family members may be involved. Femicide differs from male homicide in specific ways. For example, most cases of femicide are committed by partners or ex-partners and involve ongoing abuse in the home, threats or intimidation, sexual violence, or situations where women have less power or fewer resources than their partner. World Health Organization, 2012. When you emerge from Rome's central railway station, Termini, there is an imposing Renaissance palace to your left. The Palazzo Massimo looks out of place in this run-down area of the city, where charities distribute food and second-hand clothes to the growing numbers of homeless people who live on its margins. But the palace, now a museum, houses an outstanding collection of sculpture from ancient Rome, including leading members of the Julio-Claudian dynasty. In the 1st century BC, two great families, the Julians and the Claudians, joined together and provided Rome's first 5 emperors, from Augustus to Nero. Its leading members are amply represented on the lower floors, where one of the prized exhibits is a typically self-aggrandizing statue of Augustus in the robes of a priest. There are also busts of women from the dynasty, including heads that are believed to represent Augustus's sister, Octavia, and his niece, Antonia. The Julio-Claudian women are among the first in Western history whose names, faces, and histories have been recorded, even if what we know about them turns out to be problematic. But the most celebrated exhibit in the Palazzo Massimo is not a piece of sculpture. A grand marble staircase leads to the room on an upper floor, which is now home to a set of frescoes known as Livia's Garden, Il Giardino di Livia. Livia was Augustus's 3rd wife and Rome's first empress, a position that had never previously existed. The wall paintings come from her country house at Prima Porta, a small town 14 kilometers north of Rome, where they once adorned the walls of an underground dining room, triclinium. The frescoes are as fresh today as when they were painted more than 2,000 years ago, creating the illusion of being in a garden where birds perch in trees heavy with fruit. The colors are ravishingly beautiful, smoky blues and greens, designed to lighten the atmosphere in the subterranean room where the family would have taken refuge from the fierce summer heat. It isn't hard to imagine Livia and Augustus dining on fruit grown in the villa's extensive gardens, while the flickering light from torches offered glimpses of the painted forest in the background. It's a rare insight into their private life, and their guests would have included Augustus's daughter Julia and Livia's sons, the future Emperor Tiberius and his younger brother Drusus. The Julio-Claudian family tree is famously tangled, with frequent marriages between close relatives creating a web of connections that's hard to follow. Drusus was the husband of Augustus's niece, Antonia, while Julia was briefly and unhappily married to her stepbrother, Tiberius. Julia was one of the most beautiful, literate, and popular women in ancient Rome, but her separation from Tiberius would have drastic consequences, leading to her exile on a distant chain of islands off Italy's west coast. She would also become a magnet for some of the most salacious gossip that circulated in the city, gleefully recorded by Roman authors who couldn't resist the opportunity to denigrate one of the most famous women in the ancient world. It's a tradition that's been carried on by later writers who found the stories about adultery, wild parties, and prostitution irresistible. They're still being repeated to tourists in the 21st century, as I discovered during a visit to the Palazzo Massimo while I was writing this book. An English-speaking Italian guide brought a party of visitors into the room where I was admiring Livia's frescoes. He spoke loudly and with confidence, describing the history of the paintings and the origins of the Julio-Claudian dynasty. He explained that Augustus and Livia were married for many years but never had children together. Then things took an unexpected turn.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?